At the end of the 19th century, of course, there were so many artists and so many painters and writers and composers who were fascinated with the idea of the Orient. In the case of Scheherazade, this was a very, very special story because the inspiration behind this story was a folk tale about a phenomenal courtesan who finds herself in a situation where she has to tell stories in order to remain alive. Now, the relationship between these stories and the music itself, it's not quite that simple, because Korsakov comes back later in life and he says, no, this music is not about this story. There is an inspiration in this story, but the music itself, it's purely beautiful symphonic orchestral music that is extremely colorful with wonderful melodies and with crazy, crazy rhythms. We begin at the beginning with perhaps one of the most surprising and majestic ways to open a composition. We have this wonderful introduction in the low brass, in the orchestra, very majestic kind of moment. Now, as soon as we have the introduction, we are introduced to the courtesan herself, to Scheherazade, which is represented in the solo violin. And the solo violin plays this beautiful melody that is seductive, and it keeps your interest at all times because it starts on one long note, but then immediately there are many, many fast notes. Then as soon as we have this introduction, in my mind I always see the curtains open it up and Scheherazade is telling the story, and we hear the waves, and the waves become smaller and bigger, and it culminates into the big waves that we see and the ship, and Sinbad's ship, arriving on the horizon. We arrive at the second movement. Up to this point in orchestral repertoire, the fagot was not really a solo instrument. What Rimsky-Korsakov writes is this really incredible, fantastic, virtuosic passage that it's written in a high register of the instrument. But it also has a beautiful quality because the fagot, it's a very mellow and very dark kind of sounding instrument. And Rimsky-Korsakov combines these two qualities very beautifully. In the third movement, we have a series of very exquisite cadenzas. We usually find them in a concerto or in a solo piece for a soloist and the orchestra. However, Rimsky-Korsakov is a phenomenal orchestrator himself. He decides to give these cadenzas to several instruments. It's very intimate and it's very dear to our heart in a way that you can imagine a story that is being told late, late at night as you are trying to put someone dear asleep. At the finale of this composition, we return back to this motive. Then we actually arrive at this beautiful major chord opening in E major after the entire passage has been rather dark and rather turbulent, and then we actually find peace at the end. It's a wonderful composition that it's full of mystery, it's full of fantasy. For me, listening and performing Scheherazade, it's not about the story. It's not about an image or a painting. It's a feeling, it's an emotion.